and welcome to my channel. Go ahead, hit the like, hit the share. This video, I just wanted to point out some things because it's very strange to me how different the media is today compared to decades ago. And every time you turn around, you keep hearing this rhetoric as far as Trump being racist. But I'm just confused. At what point in time did he become racist? Considering all through the late 90s and early 2000s, you had all these hip-hop artists praising this man. It's strange to me that people want to keep focusing on this alleged racism instead of the real problems, even when they have these so-called debates. But they don't never point out some discrepancies with their theories. The fact that just a few years ago, the same person that they want to claim is not the racist was making some very questionable statements and even had some things that offended his running mate, Kamala Harris. But I guess it's okay to team up when you're on the same agenda. Anybody with eyes can see that right about now, we're in an age of these people blatantly pushing their agendas in our face, covering up for certain individuals in their politics. But at the end of the day, this video will give you a little bit more insight and make it known that the media is being deceptive. Now, it's okay to not like a person for whatever reason, but to just blatantly keep spinning false narratives about a person because of the fact you don't like them, is that right? This is just a reminder that, again, you cannot trust everything the media tells you.
When I put out that I reject the KKK and David Duke, nobody picks it up. You know why they don't? Because they don't want to pick it up. Now, I have been asked this question so many times. I have rejected it so many times.
White supremacists are saying, do you want those votes?
No, I don't want them, and I don't want him to say it. I don't like any group of hate.
Fresh scrutiny comes from his earliest years in the Senate, when he strongly opposed mandatory school busing. It was designed to achieve integration and a more equitable education. What's less known is how he followed the lead of some of the Senate's most fervent segregationists. In a series of never-before-published letters reviewed by CNN, the strength of Biden's opposition to busing comes into sharper focus. On March 25, 1977, Biden wrote, "My bill strikes at the heart of the injustice of court-ordered busing. It prohibits the federal courts from disrupting our educational system." Biden sought and received support from Mississippi Senator James Eastland, a leading symbol of Southern resistance to desegregation. He frequently spoke of blacks as, quote, an inferior race.
And it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And, you know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me. Do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America?
No. To coddle the reputations of segregationists, of people who, if they had their way, I would literally not be standing here as a member of the United States Senate, is, I think, it's misinformed and it's wrong.
Now, what kind of stuff is that? They going out here doing the most trying to implant this narrative of how one person is the racist, even though he's never publicly said certain things. They twist the things that he said and ignore the other person that has blatantly showed his racism. Oh, but it's okay because we're going to partner him with another brown-skinned person to make you think all is good and ignore everything that he said. At the end of the day, this should be a reality check. Everything you see in the media is not true. And when you see them working hard to push these narratives, it should raise some questions.
That was just a fluke. Remember, in the most recent debate, Trump would not denounce or condemn white supremacy or the KKK. Show that one.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland? Are you prepared to do that?
All right, if he keeps condemning, we're going to have to give him a coin like Mario. Eventually he'll get a free life. But that wasn't a very good condemnation. I like him hard and fast. It's not like he already condemned white supremacy to that same reporter 4 years earlier, is it?
What are your views on the Ku Klux Klan and white supremacists?
I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke.
You're telling me he condemned white supremacy to the same reporter? And why is Chris Wallace so focused on condemning white supremacy? This is like a fetish for this sicko. Go on. Do it. Condemn it, Mr. President. Condemn it for me. One more time. Tell me I'm a bad boy. Tell me I'm a racist. Tell me you hate the KKK. I need you to do it. Ooh, tell me how much you hate the Grand Wizard. Oh, disgusting. I'm creeped out just watching that. Well, whatever. At least Biden would never say anything even close to racist, so that's the safe choice, right?
I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African American who was articulate and bright and clean and nice looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
What the
You know, we still have great comedy out there. There's always rambling Joe Biden. What the
Duke announced his Senate candidacy.
Are you ready before you ask the question?
Newt Gingrich said,
Rebuked. Is that okay? Rebuked.
Rebuke.
Done.
Done.
He's run for president twice before, unsuccessfully. He's never before been the front runner.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. It don't have nothing to do with Trump.
Okay, so why am I being told Trump is the racist and Biden isn't? It appears the media is trying to divide good people on both sides. Well, after just a few of these clips, it got me thinking. I decided to dig up a handful of times Trump condemned white supremacy, and then several times Biden was racist to show what you never saw. Enjoy my montage.
How do you feel about the recent endorsement from David Duke?
I didn't even know he endorsed me. David Duke endorsed me? Okay. All right. I disavow. Okay?
What you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things.
Joe says shit that even people with Tourette's go, no.
No. We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
I disavowed David Duke, and I disavowed him the day before at a major news conference, which is surprising because he was at the major news conference. CNN was at the major news conference, and they heard me very easily disavow David Duke.
Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
Yeah, don't sit down.
What's really going on here is white supremacy is not a major force in anyone's life in 2020. But the media is pushing a hoax on us. Remember Jussie Smollett's, Bubba Wallace? Remember the Covington Cross kids? It's a hoax. And there's ghost hunting going on. You see, when no one's racist, and we don't know who are we gonna ask? CNN! They'll tell you, if you look at all the recent forms of terrorism, racism, and murder, looting, and rioting in the streets, it did not come from any white supremacists. They were nowhere to be found. And yet BLM and Antifa were everywhere.
Right after that, I also disavowed David Duke. When we looked at it and looked at the question, I disavowed David Duke. So I disavowed David Duke all weekend long on Facebook, on Twitter, and obviously it's never enough.
David Duke.
David Duke is a bad person who I disavowed on numerous occasions.
And because of a corrupt system that exists in Mexico, I voted for a fence. I voted unlike most Democrats, some of you won't like it, I voted for 700 fence. And you will not like this. And punish American employers who knowingly violate the law when in fact they hire illegally. But they're the facts. People are driving across that border with tons, hear me, tons of everything from byproducts of methamphetamine to cocaine to heroin. It's all coming up through corrupt Mexico.
In the good old days, law enforcement acted a lot quicker than this.
Put out this tweet saying, as I stated at the press conference on Friday regarding David Duke, I disavow.
I won't say fairly. I have a very strong view relating to the matter to which you spoke last, and that is the hiring of undocumented workers. What did take place was a violation of the United States immigration law. The committee and the public, as we've discussed, has to be assured that you are, without exception, going to be willing to enforce the law. The immigration law, when did you first hire the unauthorized workers?
Maybe it's time we realize that millennials will call everything racist.